All right, welcome everybody to the Wireshark Advanced course. We're going to get started here. All right, so welcome. For those of you who've taken the Foundations course, this is the Advanced course. We're going to get into some advanced topics here, and the primary focus of this program is to prepare you and get you ready for the Wireshark Certified Network Analyst, or the WCNA exam. We're going to cover a whole bunch of cool stuff in this course. In the start of the course, we're going to go over some of the fundamental things for those of you who have not taken the Foundations course, but we're definitely going to get more advanced as we go along. So primarily in the Wireshark Fundamentals module now, we're going to pretty much just go over the basics again, not too basic, but just for those of you who are just joining and may not have taken the Foundations course, it's a good primer to get up and running. So again, welcome. My name is Rob Szymanski. I'll be your instructor for the Advanced Wireshark course. A little bit about myself. I am certified as a WCNA, so I can bring some of the information to you to help you prepare for this exam. I've also done quite a bit of work in the publishing area, training, and just real world experience with network analysis, and I've spent quite a few years doing this. I like to focus in the area of network analysis because everything else that I learn seems to always come back around to understanding what's going on inside the wire. It's something that I have a passion for, and I enjoy doing it, and I also enjoy teaching it. So I've got about 20 years, 25 years experience in IT. I've been doing Cisco and all the different flavors of your server operating systems, and all different types of roles within IT. But again, the thing that I enjoy the most is working pretty much exclusively with network analysis and some of the deep dive topics into the network stack. All right, so welcome to the Advanced Wireshark Technology course. In this course, we're going to cover quite a few things. We're going to go over not only exam topics, but some fundamental as well as some advanced things that you can bring right to your work or your labs or whatever you're doing full-time or part-time or for your education to this course. But before we get started, we have to make sure that you have the background needed to use Wireshark. So in the first 4 modules, we're going to go over some pertinent information that's required to master this course and pass the exam. So first, let's talk about what a protocol analyzer is used for. So Wireshark itself is just a tool. If you load it up on a machine and you get started, you hit run and you capture some packets, what exactly are you doing this for? So essentially, there's 3 main areas that you would do this for. So one is protocol analysis, so you can do a deep dive into the actual protocols, see what's going on the network and see what protocols are used, see how they're being used. So for example, if you wanted to troubleshoot a problem of why a logon wasn't working, you could potentially capture that traffic to and from the client to the server and see factually that there is a problem with the logon, or maybe the packets weren't getting there, or many reasons. But protocol analysis is pretty much the primary use of this tool. You can also use it for traffic analysis. It will show you if you have congested links, if you have dropped packets, if for some reason traffic is being blocked and it's not getting to its intended destination. You can look at traffic patterns and see what's going on with it. And also for security analysis. So one of the big things today, it's actually been going on for quite some time for most of us that have been working in the field. Security is nothing new. There's always been an issue with security, but as the landscape, the digital landscape grows exponentially, we find ourselves with more and more things to look at and check and validate and put into compliance and harden. So Wireshark is very good at capturing data and showing you if you have a security threat or a leak. Some of the top tools out there, for example, if you're using antivirus software, or if you're using intrusion or a detection or prevention, a lot of these tools scan data, and it looks at things like heuristics and says, okay, well, if it's a match against this possible threat or this traffic, it's an anomaly. It looks a little bit different from what I'm used to seeing. So essentially, what we're going to do is use this tool to, just like those tools, to capture traffic and look for anomalies. For example, if you see packets on the network that you did not think were there, or you see source IP addresses that you're not used to seeing, trying to get to destination targets that you're not familiar with, it's a good way to take a look and see what's going on. One quick disclaimer about that: just make sure that when you're using the Wireshark tool, you have permission to do so on your network. Very important, because if you do not have permission to use it and you start capturing data, you could potentially get in trouble. For example, if you were capturing passwords sent in clear text, that may be an issue if you do not have permission to do so. So just make sure that if you're not on the network team or the security team and you fire this up on your network, potentially it could be found and you could be held liable, and it could be an issue. So what do I need to know to use Wireshark? Interestingly, and we covered this pretty much in depth in the Foundations course, and we'll cover it briefly here, you need to have some background in computing, in networking, and not at the super advanced level, but at least at the Network Plus level, to understand what these components are. What is a router, what is a network, what is a switch, what's a WAN link. Even more in depth, you should understand the OSI model. You should understand data encapsulation. So when data is sent from one place to another, there's headers, and the data is encapsulated to go on different mediums, and why it does that. So that's a fundamental thing that you should know. You should understand the basics of IP addressing, logical addressing, MAC addresses. These are things that when we start capturing data and looking at it in the protocol analyzer, Wireshark, you're really not going to have a place to start with unless you understand those fundamentals. So again, we captured a lot of that in the Foundations course, and this is something that would be prerequisite information to be taking this course. And what else do I need to use to know Wireshark? We covered this in depth in the Foundations course, and we will continue to cover it here briefly on topics, but you really need to know where to place Wireshark. So Wireshark is basically a tool, and it requires you as a network engineer, analyst, operator, technician. You need to understand where to place this to capture the traffic so that you can start looking for problems or security breaches or whatever it is that you're looking for. So a good example would be if you had a large network, multiple segments, and you know that you have a client that cannot access a server, or the client is trying to use the server resources, and there's a particular problem. For example, the web page is not pulling fast enough on the front-end web servers, and or you're able to log in and pulling tabs, or trying to generate a report in the application. Maybe there's something with the middleware on Tier 2 or Tier 3 database. So where would I put Wireshark to actually figure out what was going on? And again, we went through that in the Foundations course, and we'll touch on it here as we troubleshoot in the Advanced course. but understanding where to put Wireshark to capture the data is extremely important. Otherwise, you're just going to collect a ton of packets that may or may not be relevant to what you're trying to find. So it's very important that you understand that. So the advanced topics that we'll cover in the Wireshark Advanced Technology course is stuff that maps directly to the WCNA exam. While we're going through this, we're going to talk about all the tools that we talked about in the Foundations course. We'll talk about flow graphs. We'll talk about the conversations. We'll talk about the packets list pane, the details pane, hex pane. We'll talk about all the different things that you can find within it. We'll talk about how to adjust preferences. We'll talk about the menu options, for example, all the relevant options within the statistics menu, so that you understand when you're troubleshooting. For example, if you have a TCP related issue or you suspect that there is, where do I go in there? Do I pull a stream graph? Do I do a flow graph? All of these things will be covered, but basically, or fundamentally, just remember that this packet capture tool is going to allow you to capture data. You're going to be able to dissect it, inspect, analyze, do a deep dive into the data, the packets, the traffic, and basically it's going to allow you to inspect the data. You're going to look for trends. It's going to allow you to troubleshoot and do, if applicable, security analysis. So in a nutshell, it's going, and if it's placed correctly, it's going to allow you to sniff data from the network and give you that window to take that captured data and carve it and slice it and look at it. And within all these tools that you see up on the screen here, this is again just a reference point here, but just understand that if you do not place this correctly and you do not target your captures, you're going to just collect a ton of data, and that's fine if you're just learning the tool and testing it out. But to get through the WCNA exam, you're going to have to understand these tools, exactly what they produce and why. So essentially, what is the WCNA exam? So the Wireshark Certified Network Analyst exam is a exam. It's about 100 questions. They give you plenty of time to take this exam. But what's interesting about the exam is, although it's not like your CCIE labs, it's not a sit with the equipment and fix it and prove it out. It's a tricky exam in the sense that when you're going through it, you'll have some questions where it'll pretty much point blank ask you from an ordered list what the answer is, but it's definitely going to test your knowledge of Wireshark. You'll get a lot of scenario type of situations where you'll have to understand from a sample of a capture, how to answer a question based on the information given. And that's where it gets tricky, because it's going to particularly go into some areas where you're going to have to understand which tool to use. What exactly am I looking at? What section of what pane is going to give me that information? So it's not an impossible exam, but it's definitely not an easy exam. It's somewhere in the middle, and you definitely have to prepare for it. So basically, the exam details in a nutshell can be found on the website itself. Just give me 1 second here and I'll pull this up to view. And you can pull directly from the actual course data here, as you can see, the Wireshark University. So if you go to wiresharktraining.com, this is the official site